Can you buy everything in the Apple ecosystem for under £1,000, $1,000? And not only can you buy it, but is it any good? This is the question I wanted to answer. And so a few weeks ago, I spent £1,000 on one of nearly every category of item from Apple. I'm gonna run through each one today to show you, well, what I bought, why I bought it, and see if it's actually any good to buy and use in today's world. Now, a quick one, like 95% of people who are watching this aren't actually subscribed to the channel, and I just hate asking people to subscribe, but each time I do, there is a huge spike in people who actually subscribe. So if you do enjoy watching my videos and aren't already subscribed, please go click that subscribe button down below the video. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And with all that YouTubing stuff out the way, let's start with my phone of choice. And I went with the iPhone 11 Pro, which came out in September 2019, so 6-ish years or so now. And for £265, I got one that is unlocked with 512 gigs of storage, which is actually the largest capacity that they sold in this model. And it is in reasonable condition. Now, this has been refurbished by, I think it's Music Magpie we bought this from, but there are an awful lot of these like specs and dots. There's various opinions and reasons as to why this is a thing online. Some people say it could be the glue and the back glass has been replaced, or water damage. It could be anything. It is interesting that it's fairly obvious. Aside from that, honestly, metal rails look pretty nice, still nicely polished. There's no big obvious glaring dents or scratches. Camera bump is tiny, and the cameras are tiny. Like, look, compare that to the iPhone 17. Cameras themselves tiny, and the bump as well is minuscule. There's like barely even a bump on there. That's mad. Now, Matt has already unboxed a lot of these products just to get them, you know, ready to use and like charge and set up and things. And did also note that the battery is also prompting that it has a third-party battery installed, which does make sense because when I checked the listing, it does say that it could have parts replaced by, you know, the technicians whilst it's being refurbished. Now, specs-wise, has the A13 Bionic chip in it. It has a Super Retina HDR display, 5.8-inch OLED HDR display, True Tone. It has haptic touch on it, which is the first phone to have haptic touch after the iPhone XS, which had the whole like 3D touch feature where you could like rest your finger and push a bit further to like open extra features. So gutted that they've changed that feature and taken it away. Of course, get Apple Pay, you know, Face ID with the notch at the top, all the good stuff as well. Now, we do also have a SIM slot in here, so I want to run a speed test to see how this actually compares. Both have the SIM card from the same network, and we're gonna test to see what the speeds are like. So we're getting 40 megabytes per second. Oh dear, the iPhone 17 is not doing too well. Wow. 35 megs on the iPhone 11 and 23 on the iPhone 17. That's pretty bad. Now, of course, this is obviously sending data to probably the same cell tower, so probably shouldn't speed test at the same time. We're getting faster upload on the iPhone 17, much slower upload on the iPhone 11. Interesting. And I actually bought this device because this is one of the oldest devices that still does support the latest iOS 26. It's shipped with iOS 13. Now, we should be on iOS 19 now, but that got renamed to iOS 26. And so it's interesting to see how it actually compares to a iPhone 17 in terms of snappy performance. Let's see what we've got. And let's go into Apple TV. Oh, actually much different. Oh dear. Let's try health. Oh, it's the first time we've gone into lots of these apps, so it's not a fair comparison, but generally using the phones doesn't feel like this is much. Oh, this did not have, was this ProMotion? Is this 120 hertz? So it's the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max that had ProMotion. So the iPhone 10, iPhone 11 Pros did not have ProMotion. It's definitely noticeable. That does feel sluggish, but performance-wise, like you look at the, like let's open up Google Maps or Apple Maps. It's not far off, is it? Considering this is, what year did I say? 2019? What's that, 6 years of difference? That is not bad. Now, in terms of the cameras, we have a triple 12 whole megapixel ultra wide camera system with a 2x telephoto. Seems a bit weird saying 2x is the telephoto. Now, that also has up to 10x digital zoom. And then you also have video support for up to 4K 60. And what I'll actually do is I'll go outside in a minute just to take some photos, a few videos, just to throw them in here. And you can actually see what that is like. Maybe let me know in the comments what you think about the cameras. Okay, so this is the front facing camera, and I've been using this iPhone 11 Pro for the last few days, and it hasn't actually been as bad as I thought it would be. I think the only problem hang on a second, let me just switch to the other camera so you can see the difference. Okay, so this is the ultra wide camera on the iPhone 11 Pro, and yeah, it hasn't been as bad as I thought it had. I have had a few times where I've gone to take a portrait photo of something, and I've taken the photo, moved the camera away, and it's like taken the photo as I've been moving the camera away. It's taken like a while to process the photos. It's felt very much like, and don't crucify me in the comments for this, it felt very much like using an Android from maybe 3 to 5-ish years ago, where again, like you'd press the shutter button and it would actually like take the photo a split second or half a second or a second later than you've actually tapped the button. So it has had that in a few situations, but generally speaking, like speed wise, it's fine. You can use all the other things, like all the apps seem to work just fine, no issues whatsoever. So I would say this is a pretty good buy. It's a comfortable phone, it's fast, it is lightning, which is one of the downsides, which I'm having to get used to because I've got to go and find my old lightning cables. But actually, for like £250, £230 I paid for it, I think it's a really good buy still. So that is the iPhone. Next up, an Apple ecosystem essential, which is of course the iPad. Content creation beast, most definitely not a laptop replacement, although Tech YouTube keeps trying to. And so for £94.99, I picked up a 7th generation 2019 iPad with Wi-Fi in 4G in what is now a tiny 32GB storage configuration, which I did cock up a little bit because this model is 1 year short of actually being able to support iPad OS 26. But let's see what we got for the absolute, oh my God, this is super bent. Did you see that? Have you seen how bent it is?
Oh no. I did not notice that at all. I have clips of it on the desk.
Oh my God, this is... Oh, you can definitely see that on top down. Look at that, that's completely warped. Wow. Oh my God, that is... Wow, it turns on. Great. We're going well. It is also dented. If you look on the back here, you can see very clearly there are some dents on the back here. So this, I would say, has been dropped quite a lot. Now this does also have 4G on it because it has the antenna at the top here, which you can see this black part, which means we should be able to pop a SIM card in here. Yeah, there's a little SIM tray on the side here. If we wanted to pop a SIM card into it, if it doesn't explode before then. Wow, that is bad. Now in terms of the specs, now we have a 10.2-inch Retina display along with the A10 Fusion chip in here as well. And no matter what iPad you are actually getting or buying, even a 2019 model like this, I would always recommend checking out the Paperlike 3 screen protector from Paperlike, who actually agreed to sponsor this video and contribute towards buying these products. So a huge shout out to Paperlike for just letting us do this. Ready to install Paperlike? Let's go. Okay, so we get a little video to watch here.
Go ahead, tap below, and let's get started.
So as you can see, the Paperlike 3 actually introduces a new butterfly application system, including these actual on-screen instructions, which actually makes installation so much easier and just eliminates the chance of bubbles and misalignment and just unclear instructions. Now the Paperlike 3 is essentially a screen protector that's just 0.095mm thin that also then helps mimic the feel of paper when writing or drawing on your iPads. Now there are 2 included in every pack, and just this butterfly application system means that, well, previously when I'd used the first one as like a dry run and then actually install the second one properly, well now I actually get to keep the second one and then use it if I ever want to or just ever need to. Pretty good.
It's been a pleasure, and I see you next time.
Now, if you actually listen closely, it actually sounds like paper, which is pretty wild. And that is actually due to their nanodot surface, which Paperlike have perfected over the years to replicate the exact same friction that you would expect when writing on paper. And of course, not only does it turn the, even the most budget iPads into a premium paper feeling texture, it also protects the screen from scuffs and scratches and just general wear and tear. This is perfect for any kind of creative people, those who enjoy writing, taking notes, or even drawing on their iPad. My daughter especially likes doing that. And you can pick one up using the link in the description down below. And they also provide a 100-day money-back guarantee if you're not 100% satisfied with your purchase. Now, in addition to that newly protected screen, we also get an 8-megapixel wide camera that can do 1080p video for all those people who use iPads to take photos and videos. You also get a 1.2 megapixel FaceTime HD camera. Now, wow, that is like the latest generation iPads have 12 megapixel center stage cameras. So that has been a huge upgrade with the very latest generation of iPads. We of course have the usual Lightning instead of USB-C, the classic Touch ID home button. You also have stereo speakers, again 4G on the back of the iPad here, and support for the first generation Apple Pencil, which we also picked up within our budget, although this one looks like it's not currently charged, so we'll get that charged and test this again tomorrow morning. And this Apple Pencil is by far one of the most silly designs. This nib, this cover is definitely not the official one, by the way. That's meant to be white. But this comes off to reveal the Lightning connector, which you then slot into the bottom of the iPad to charge your pencil. And this iPad looks like it doesn't actually charge unless you put a bit of, there we go, battery percent is low, 3% battery. You have to put a bit of pressure to get it to charge, interestingly. And that also wirelessly pairs your pencil via Bluetooth to the iPad and also charges the pencil as well. Because this is just not a good design. But it got even more silly when they swapped out Lightning for USB-C, and then they still made iPads that used the first generation pencil where you had to then buy a USB-C to Lightning adapter cable to then connect and then charge your Apple Pencil. It just got really silly. But my kids absolutely love drawing on their iPads or, Samsung tablets. My daughter is also constantly writing stories on her iPad, which she was doing with her finger until I recently gave her my Apple Pencil Pro just because I never use it. So for the right person or the right kids, this is still a great purchase. However, on this particular occasion, I would very much say that we are probably going to return this one because either the battery is swelling or something's been dropped and it's been massively bent out of shape. There's loads of dents on the back. It's very, very much not straight, so not the best purchase. Now, interestingly, between this and even the newest 10th generation iPad, the screen itself is still 264 pixels per inch, still an IPS LED panel, and both reach 500 nits max brightness, whilst also both having the same battery life of up to 10 hours watching videos. So yeah, overall, think this is a great purchase, just not this particular iPad. And if you can stretch a little bit further, I would try and stretch for one that has the wirelessly attached pencil on the top, just because that is such a good upgrade. And then also you'll be getting USB-C charging on the iPad as well. Now, next up is the only new Apple products that I actually managed to buy with my actual budget here. And I bought a pair of the AirPods 4s with noise cancellation for £60. So over £100 off what I already paid for the pair that I actually have here in the drawer behind me, which I can use to compare. So I do have one question about these, and that is, are they real or are they fake? Because when you're spending £100 less than the product should cost new, I think they are fake.
I have a genuine box in my van. Do you want me to go grab it?
For the 4s, yeah. Right, so we have like the Generation 1, I think it was, must be Generation 1. We have AirPods Pro 2s, because I've got the little ghost on there, which means it's the 2. And then the AirPods 4s with noise cancellation. So we can compare the actual physical size. Now, as far as the box goes, it looks very, very close. Made by Apple and all the usual things. However, we do have a real box to compare this to see what it actually looks like compared to a real box. Let's just open them and see what the actual... Okay, I'm going to say straight away they are definite fakes. Apple products do not open up like that. Like, that is really flimsy paper. So yeah, you don't normally need a knife to open an Apple product. Okay, instantly, yeah. So this is, wow, this is really bashed. So this is the real box, this is a fake box, and I've already seen straight away that yes, there is so much more text on the back here. Doesn't look very realistic, but yeah, way more text on everywhere, from the power regulation stuff on the sides. Apple logo is pretty spot on. Underneath, there's, yeah, missing some stuff there. Yeah, very, very close, but I would say fake. Yeah, oh, okay, so we can compare the insides as well. Designed by Apple in California. Looks like it could be real. Let's see. Even the plastic here feels a bit less real. That does look very close. I mean, obviously, if you didn't have a pair of AirPod 4s next to it to be able to compare, and that beep didn't sound very Apple either. The headphones themselves, they do look very close. Question is, what do they show up as? Let's not your AirPods. Oh, okay, there's the first sign, not your AirPods, because normally it should just show up as a brand new Apple product. So let's connect those. Double tap the front of the charging case. Oh, there we go. Okay, no, connecting. It's not a very Apple beep. It's clever though, because it thinks they're real AirPods. Okay, so you should be able to put them in your ears, and then they've got controls for noise cancellation. Oh, that sounds, well, transparency also isn't a thing. There's no difference between transparent, active, or noise cancellation modes. It all sounds identical. Those are unfortunately outright fakes. I'm sorry, but that is like, I should probably listen to some music on them as well already, shouldn't I? But Apple Music one, here we go. They sound like trash. Yeah, I'm gonna get my money back. That's an outright fake. It sounds horrendous. There's no noise cancelling. Well, the default is just noise cancelling. To be fair, I should also probably listen to real ones just to compare. Yeah, that sounds way better already. Yeah. Pass-through is so much better. Wow, forgot how good the Apple pass-through is. Play some music. There we go. Oh, they sound so much better. Wow, there's a lot of bass that comes through those AirPod 4s, and these are just, yeah, nowhere near at all. So that'll be an instant refund because they sound horrendous. We are gonna move on and now look at the MacBook, which is definitely not fake, is our next product, and aside from the AirPod 4s, this is one of the newest products I was able to afford with the budget, and one that I actually really wanted to put a chunk of my budget towards. So, you know, as far as computing product goes, and actually, I kind of cheated here, and I did go over budget, because I actually have both a laptop and a desktop. But if you are wanting to buy, you know, everything of course for under $1,000, then you probably only buy one of these anyway. But I'm really excited for one of these in particular, not this one necessarily, which you'll find more in a moment. Now the first is £289. It is an M1 MacBook Air, and it was the first Apple product that really put a nail in Intel's coffin. Now, this M1 MacBook Air, for me, was the first time I was happy to put my money into an actual MacBook Air, because when all of the previous, you know, Intel MacBook Airs had such huge price to performance drawbacks when put alongside the slightly thicker MacBook Pros, that I just couldn't see why anybody would sacrifice so much performance just for, you know, a slightly thinner laptop. Now, I didn't actually buy this laptop for this video because this is actually the laptop that my wife already uses. My kids use it for homework. We just haven't had a reason to upgrade this machine ever since we bought it back in November 2020 for £999 here in the UK for the base model. Now, this also supports the latest Mac OS Tahoe. Let's just double check if we're actually running that right now, because that is very much a blue job. If you know, you know. We're on Sequoia, so yes, we did not get around to that. But overall, honestly, this is a really solid laptop. It's fast in performance, just, you know, fast enough to use for day-to-day like productivity use. You can do emails, browsing, web stuff. It will even handle some light video and even audio production work, which is just a testament to how good Apple's M Silicon actually is. And the battery life is also still pretty incredible on here. And again, one reason why Apple Silicon is such an impressive feat of engineering is just because the chips they're not only powerful, but they're insanely efficient. And whilst we're also, you know, getting close to seeing other chipset manufacturers like Qualcomm with their Snapdragon X Elite chips, but they do require you to run the ARM version of Windows, which then comes with its own compatibility challenges. They are still not as faultless as Apple's M Silicon. So this is the M1 MacBook Air. These are such good machines, and you can buy them new for a bargain price at the moment. So this, I think, would be my recommendation for a lot of people. Get the M1 version. Obviously, if you can afford the M2 or 3, then go for those. But M1 is such a powerful chip. It is well worth going for. However, as far as the desktop goes, this is actually the one I was really, really excited to try out, because, you know, I've never had the chance to own one of these myself. I don't think I even got to ever see one in person. It is the, oh, this is so cool. This is the 2013 Mac Pro, and that's really heavy. Wow. This was actually sold in 2015, and at the time cost, from what I can gather and what I can put together from pricing I found online, £10,000 or $10,000 for this particular configuration. This was the epitome of Apple's like design and pro engineering. And I actually remember when the M1 series of chips launched, when they were owners of, I think it was the Mac Pros, like the cheese grater silver ones, they were all up in arms because their machines that only recently cost them tens of thousands of pounds were now slower than the new, vastly more affordable, more efficient Apple Silicon chips instead. So in terms of specs for this absolute beast of a Mac Pro, that is so cool. Yeah, I love the design. Also user upgradable memory in there as well. Is it user upgradable storage?
Yeah.
You can upgrade the storage as well. Wow. And this actually has 2 graphics cards in it as well. So we'll get on specs. We have the very highest spec 12-core CPU. We have 64 gigs of memory, which has been upgraded later on. There is dual AMD FirePro D700 graphics cards in here as well. And also 512 gigs of storage. Although I think previous owners actually split this into 2. You got half for Mac and half for Windows for some horrible reason. But this is just short of the 1 terabyte top spec capacity. But otherwise, this is literally a baller spec of a Mac Studio, or a Mac Pro rather. Now today's term is Mac Studio. Otherwise, we do have, coincidentally, a headphone jack, which is something that still exists on some Apple products nowadays. You have a built-in speaker in here as well. There is a single HDMI 1.4 port, which is actually interestingly marketed as Ultra HD before we went to 4K. There is 4 USB 3 ports. You've got 6 Thunderbolts 2 ports on the back here as well. There's dual gigabit Ethernet, which I assume is because you've got 1 to go to your networking, maybe 1 to some storage. You've got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and that is about it. So the only thing I didn't buy for this desktop, of course, was a screen. So you do need to, factor that into your budget if you were doing this. But this is such an incredible machine. And again, for how much did I pay for this? I paid a whopping £286 for this spec. When again, brand new, it would have been £10,000, which is just an insane amount of money to spend on a machine that, is a few years later not worth half as much. The quality though, the condition of this is pretty good. There's no scratches or marks. I mean, it's literally a mirror finish you can see here. It just looks so cool. I love the finish here. Oh, cool, we have a monitor. So in addition to the monitor that I did not buy with this, we also didn't buy a keyboard or mouse. Do we have a keyboard and mouse that would work? We have it plugged in, so power button is in a sensible place on the back of the Mac Pro. So let's just see how long this thing takes to boot up. Or so he says. Oh, magical noise. This is so weird seeing this nowadays because Macs just boot up instantly. It's such a weird thing to have to wait. Here we go, okay. That's not too bad. So let's just go see what we've got in here. System preferences. So we're currently running OS X Yosemite on this, but you can go up as far as Monterey. Officially to Monterey, can't you? But you can unofficially go higher than that, although we tried and that is why we haven't been able to get it onto Monterey. 64 gig of memory, 2.7 gig, 12 core Intel Xeon E5 processor. AMD FirePro D700 with 6 gig of memory. Pretty solid otherwise. Storage, we've got, 5. We do have 512 gig of storage, but we've got a partition for boot camp on here and 4 sticks of 16 gigs. So yeah, as far as things go on here, I mean, it's very, very usable as far as anyone's concerned. If you're buying this for a home machine, just opening all the apps and seeing how well it survives with it all. It's still quick enough, I would say. But yeah, performance-wise, performs great to me. Right, so this is a few days later now. Massive continuity issues because we have completely changed the desk setup. We've torn the studio apart. So a few days later, Mac Pro, we did get it upgraded to Sonoma, which is currently still receiving support updates, although it looks likely that it's going to not receive those as of maybe next year, possibly. And we've installed quite a few apps on it. So DaVinci Resolve installed fine. Quite a few other apps, just general browsing around, everything else. Actually performs pretty good, considering this is a 250 odd pounds computer. Again, was £10,000 or something. Now, in terms of benchmarks, we did get Geekbench running on it.
So single core performance of 720.
720 single core and 5,242. That feels incredibly low.
So a base level iMac 24-inch M4 processor, a single core score of 3,663 compared to 720.
3,000 compared to 700 for single core on an M4 chip.
13,500 on the multi-core score compared to 5,000.
13,000 compared to 5. I mean, this is the whole point. The whole Mac Silicon is significantly faster than the Intel chips. That's not to say that this is a bad machine, but I would probably recommend not getting any form of Intel chips on a Mac if you can. Gonna see how the Intel Mac Pro compares to the first generation MacBook Air M1.
2,300 compared to our 720 and multi-core 8,000
compared to 5. Okay, so yeah, a little bit better, but still, again, this is the base spec MacBook Air versus professional grade cinematographers and video editors and audio studios with using these. And wow, that's incredible. Thinking you could have replaced your entire studio setup with a MacBook Air. Good purchase. Would not recommend it to most people, but super, super cool factor. Absolute banger of a machine. Absolutely love their design. They've really, really lost their way with the design recently. Between this and going back to their old classic colourful like iMac designs, they've definitely lost their fun way. The next Apple product that most people would tend to look for when building out their, Apple ecosystem is the Apple Watch. With my budget means that I bought the Apple Watch Series 6 for a whopping £89. So I am very interested to see how that actually compares to my current generation Series 11 Apple Watch. There isn't actually a huge difference in terms of the specs, apart from you've got the size, of course. So the Series 6, we have a 40 or 44mm case versus the 42 and 46mm case. And of course, you've got the S6 chip with the S10 chip on the S11, on the Series 11. And so that aside, the watches themselves are very, very close in terms of features. The 11 only really adds a handful of features. You've got double the brightness at 2000 nits on the Series 11 versus 1000 on the Series 6. There's a wide angle OLED LPTO display. It's the LPTO 3 on the Series 11 versus just an LPTO 1 on the Series 6. My Apple Watch is now up to date. Thank you very much. There are also a few extra features on the Series 11, things like hypertension notifications, sleep apnea, wrist temperature, crash detection. You get a depth gauge on the Series 11. Of course, you've got 5G versus 4G, just along with a few other kind of gesture-based things, such as the wrist flick and double tap to be able to navigate around things. And then, of course, we have the battery life, which is 18 hours on the Series 6 to up to 24 hours on the Series 11. Although I would expect that to be much less on the Series 6, given that it's obviously a Series 6 with a used battery. Let's just see what the battery says it is on here, because it might tell us what the battery health is like. And battery health wise, we are 84% maximum capacity, 2020, so 5 years old, this watch. It's got 84% battery life. Now, the thing this watch does not have is the faster charging, which I will definitely say I've been enjoying a lot on the Series 11. So I basically wear this currently 24/7, and I will just take it off when I'm sat at my desk, charge it for 15, 20 minutes at most, and that's enough to top it up to a full charge and just keep it topped up really all the time. I never really have any issues with the low battery on this watch right now. Whereas this watch at 84% health, I imagine is going to struggle getting through a normal working day. So that is the Apple Watch. Next up is Apple TV. Back to the new set, because the Apple TV has still not arrived. However, the pièce de résistance, the cherry on the cake with Apple's best product, I think, that they've ever made, the Apple TV. Now, this was not the item we bought, but I have paid £54.69 for a first generation Apple TV 4K, which does support the latest tvOS 26, although it does say with some limited liquid glass features. Now, I'm not actually sure that's a bad thing, given how interestingly liquid glass has been received. Now, looking around, I could have possibly gotten a newer generation for ever so slightly more. Again, I was trying to stick to a budget where possible, and I genuinely wondered how good and how responsive the first generation Apple TV 4K would be today, because Apple TV is fairly widely regarded as one of the best TV streamers due to just how quickly it works. So overall, I think again the Apple TV was a very, very solid purchase. Even the first generation Apple TV 4K surprisingly still performs better than a lot of current generation inbuilt TV smart OS systems. They just really struggle to nail that whole responsive, fluid, actually being able to use it quickly without any lag or delays or pauses or anything. And that was our Apple ecosystem of $1,000, $1,000, £1,000. Comment down below if you'd like to see an Android version of this video. I think that would be super interesting to try, since there is just such a huge range of products out there. Also, I have my newsletter, Experiments in Progress, where I talk about what I'm testing right now, because not everything makes its way into these videos, both the good and the bad. I also have a podcast called Aspiring Creator, where I talk about all the behind the scenes stuff of running this YouTube channel. Again, huge shout out to Paperlike for sponsoring this video. Don't forget, go buy your Paperlike for your iPad, and just to help support the channel, huge thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye bye.